What's happening, family? Dr. Joe here. Hope each of you are well and blessed. Happy Black History Month to each of you. Although I do think Black history and American history are one and the same, still it's important to identify the work, the labor, the blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors. So salute to and happy Black History Month as it comes to an end. You can see what we're talking about. There's a popular television show called My 600-Pound Life. These are individuals, men and women of all different ethnicities, races, who are morbidly obese, people who are 5, 6, 7, 800 plus pounds. And one of the problems when you're talking about, well, not just the show, but when you're talking about people who are morbidly obese, is a lot of times these types of individuals are put into a different classification, almost as if they have some type of psychological problem, issue. And at the end of the day, that's one of the main issues. There's nothing wrong with any person who is 5, 6, 7, 800 pounds. That's different than any other person who's overweight. The only difference between a person who's morbidly obese, 5, 6, 7, 800 pounds, versus a person who may be 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight, are the morbidly obese people have basically created negative agreements with themselves for a longer period of time. What's an agreement? An agreement is something that you agree with. It's a contract. It's something that you are adhering to. And what happens in life when you're doing things that's manifesting negativity over your life, if it's addictions, if it's poor health, if it's gaining weight, you have been an active participant in upholding whatever that agreement is. If it's not exercising, if it's not doing the things that you need to do, eating bad foods, avoiding foods that you know you don't need to eat, sabotaging yourself, you've been doing that for a longer period of time. The same way you become morbidly obese is the same way you become obese in any capacity. So the first thing that any person who's within this particular category has to understand is nothing is wrong with you. Everything can be right with you, but it starts with you. That's the first thing. There needs to be no bifurcation of morbidly obese people with obese people, because at the end of the day, it's still issues of spirituality, lack of purpose, lack of focus, lack of discipline, lack of structure. And all of these things can be changed. All of these things can be worked on. That's the first thing. But the second thing that I noticed about this particular show that I want to bring to your attention is this. There are many patients who are on this particular show that when they go in and they see the doctor and they're consulting with the doctor will say, well, you know, you're 700 pounds, you're 800 pounds, or what have you. You have to lose 100 pounds if you're going to qualify for this surgery, for this gastric bypass or whatever the type of surgery that it is. And a lot of these patients will go out and the doctor puts them on a diet and people will come back and many of them will lose the weight. Some of them won't. But a lot of them will be successful in losing 100 pounds, 150 pounds on their own, and then they'll get the surgery. This is the problem. The problem is this, and I want you to listen to me very, very carefully. If you can lose 100 pounds to have surgery, what it means is you've made new agreements within a certain pericope of time in order for you to have what you feel is going to be the fix, which is the surgery. But see, at the end of the day, the miracle of it is not the surgery, but it's the fact that this person who was morbidly obese was able to make positive changes to lose 100 pounds. If you can lose 100 pounds, you can lose 500 pounds. You can lose 600 pounds. You can lose 400 pounds. Any person who can lose 100 pounds to have surgery doesn't need the surgery, but they don't understand that they don't need the surgery because they've never been empowered on that level to understand that you're really free. If you take a horse and tie him up and his whole life he's tied up, if you free him 10 years later, 20 years later, 15 years later, the horse is going to behave like he's still tied up, even though he's free. If I'm 800 pounds, right? And we see this all the time on My 600-Pound Life. So this isn't some one-off type of comparison or analogy. But if I'm 800 pounds and I can lose 700 pounds, and I can lose 100 pounds or 150 pounds to be 650 pounds to qualify for the surgery, I don't need the surgery. I never needed the surgery because I'm the surgery. My mind is the surgery, my will. Some folks, all they need is direction. They need support. They need accountability. And they need the grace to mess up, but to get back up again, fix those corrections. But the last thing that they need is the accountability to be their biggest support. And if they refuse to do that, then they cannot expect anyone else to support them if they are not willing to support themselves. This is the premise of everything that the 40-Day Turn-Up and the Journey has been built upon. All right. Education, leadership, guidance, support, grace to fail, but also standing firm to put folk out who are not willing to love themselves enough to be there for themselves. If you're morbidly obese, there's nothing wrong with you. The only thing that's wrong with you is you think something's wrong with you. Everything is right with you. And the reason why I know that is not because I know you, but I know who made you. I know whose image you were made in the likeness of. That means that we've got the same spiritual genes. Everything that you need is on the inside of you. So don't allow society or industry or television to make you think anything is wrong with you. Start making new agreements with yourself today and watch how your life can change. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.